Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ward Radio live stream. I am your host, Cardinal. Today I'm joined in the studio by Luke Hansen. I almost said the associate professor of all things apocryphal. That's Jonah Barnes.
Sure, I'll take it.
No, Luke Hansen, also known as Cool-Headed Luke, the editor-in-chief of Ward Radio News, and via Zoom by none other than Jacob Hansen of Thoughtful Faith, who is returning and reporting about crashing an evangelical conference. Both of them went to Ruslan KD's conference, which was a little bit of a little mecca of many online apologists, especially of the evangelical Protestant persuasion, and also a debate between, what was his name again? Oh, yeah, David Wood and Alex O'Connor on whether or not did Jesus claim to be God, which was kind of like the headline of the evening. So anyway, he's gonna tell us how it went. Both Luke and Jacob have battle scars, proverbial battle scars. And they're just going to share with us just everything. So who wants to take it away? Jacob, Luke, who's doing it, my man? Who's doing it?
So, I was at the conference, dude, and somebody said Galatians 1:8, and now I'm, questioning everything, man. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be in the church.
Did they just start saying, and the word came, and the word was God, and then there's a different angel of light?
So, yeah, we could back up a little bit before that, but there was a couple of people that kind of, wanted to run through all the arguments with me. And there was even one lady that we were going for 45 minutes, not arguing a lot. It was a very cordial conversation. I think I gave them new ideas. She even said, I've never heard Mormons say that before, and I've been talking to them a lot before. And even after 45 minutes of us talking, she was like, "Oh, you have an answer for everything, don't you?" I was like, "Yep, yep, I do. I've been hearing these things for a while."
Oh, that's kind of funny, man.
Well, let me chime in though with a thought here.
Okay.
So one thing I want to say about this conference is that it was remarkably ecumenical, at least in general, with the bigger name peoples that we interacted with. Very down to earth, very open to conversation, very curious about things. It was not get the Mormons. There are a few people there that were kind of wanted to kind of push us a little bit and ask us those little questions of, who is God's God and all that kind of, just kind of the typical stuff.
Yeah.
But overall it was people were very interested in sort of, I kind of told Luke we were like the exotic animals there, that everyone was like, hey, do you guys know there's some Mormons over there? It's really? And they kind of come over so do you guys really believe this? And then we would go off on different things. So it was actually super fun. And I came away from it with this, we need to go to these more often. Every Latter-day Saint who is really knowledgeable and in this space, and they need to do it with the idea of being very cordial. We are a guest in their house, and to try and have very not argumentative, but sort of mutual understanding type conversations, because they were more willing, I think, than I even expected to kind of try and understand things. They were, the attitude wasn't antagonism, a little bit, maybe 10%, but very much curious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's cool. I can deal with that.
One of my big takeaways is the stuff that Jacob Hansen and Ward Radio especially. People didn't bring up other channels. It was mostly just Jacob Hansen and Ward Radio is making a difference.
Shut up, really?
Oh, yes.
Dude, we're a tiny channel compared to these guys.
No,
what?
I'm telling you, so obviously, Jacob Hansen's debate with Trent Horn and his talk with Alex O'Connor was kind of the talk of the conference. A lot of people were talking about that. But even that lady that I just talked about a few minutes ago that was running me through all the arguments, in our last conversation, she was saying, "Oh, I remember the first time I saw you was Mike Winger. I watched Mike Winger's talk that he had with that lady Christian conference that we responded to. One of the first videos I did.
The ones where she says the Mormon
Radio.
church has secret de-brainwashers.
Yes.
To de-brainwash the missionaries when they get home.
That's what Mike Winger said.
I know.
So she said she watched that Mike Winger video and she knew that Mike was saying things that were false. And then she saw Ward Radio's video about it and watched it, and now has started watching videos after that, and said that she's become aware of a number of arguments that they use all the time that are actually bad arguments. And several other people, like one guy came up to me while I was just sitting there, and he's like, "Oh, you're on Word Radio?" "Yes." And so he was saying, and he was like apologizing for how mean Christians are to Latter-day Saints sometimes. And he's
what?
Like, yeah. And he's like, "I know that Cardin can get pretty feisty against us sometimes, but I try not to hold that against him because those Calvinists can be pretty rough, and I understand he interacted with them a lot." And granted, there were there were a number of people that were like, "Cardin's a little feisty. I think I prefer you to Cardin."
I was going to say this, Cardin, just what they said about you. And this is my take with you.
My little heart can't take it. My little heart.
I got to be careful because, like, yes, some of these guys go, like, hard in the paint after us, and we should, respond back. But I really think when you keep it about the arguments and not about them personally, it really does, like, have more of an effect than I think that you realize. Where when you go after them personally, they kind of, like, get mad and write you off. But
I have one rule: don't lie about me. It's my only rule.
All right.
You personally or the church?
Me personally.
Oh, okay.
Well, one thing too was this, like, the names who were there, like, it wasn't that many people at the conference. I mean, there were a lot of people there, but the ratio of, like, big name YouTubers to, like, audience members was insane. You could, like, just go up to, like, Gavin Ortland or to Inspiring Philosophy Mike Jones or Ruslan or who, and just, like, start talking to them, and they just be like, "Hey, how's it going, man? Like, what's up?" And so, and, like, everyone was like that. So it was just like, these conferences are crazy because you can go and talk to people that have a 500,000 person audience and just like clear up misconceptions about the church. And, like, it was really, like, I don't know, it was, like, surreal in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I thought that we were going to go to the conference. We were going to talk to, like, 6, 7, 8 people that were in attendance that either recognized us or strike up a conversation, kind of tell them about Mormonism a bit. Maybe if we're lucky, we'll find one of the other YouTubers that are there for a little 5-minute chat. But I figured, because they have, like, VIP tickets, So I was like, oh, they'll be with the VIPs. We're not going to pay the $150 extra for those tickets. And so we'll just have a couple conversations. No. The first person I talked to when I got to the conference was Alex O'Connor in a t-shirt and gym shorts after coming out of the gym at the hotel.
I gotta tell that story though, because
yeah, you were there a little before me.
All right. So I'm the first person to walk in, right? I'm there with my brother Forrest. We arrive at the conference. I walk in, and they had already kind of started. We were about 20 minutes late or so. And we walk in, and Forrest is like, my brother's like, "Hey, I gotta go to the bathroom real quick." I was like, "No worries." So I walk into the hall outside, and there's like 10 people in the hall, or 5 to 10 people. And the very first person I see standing there, the first person I see in this whole conference of like anyone, guest or like VIP, is Alex. And he's standing there. He looks over and sees me. We make eye contact. He goes, "Hey, Jacob." I was like, "Hey, Alex." And I thought, maybe we'll, like, say hi. It's kind of a coincidence, and then that would be it. We wouldn't see each other. No, we sat there and talked for like 15 minutes, and then my brother came out, and then Luke showed up, and we all, like, just talked away. So it was like, and then, as Luke, like you were saying, the rest of the conference, it was like, yeah, basically any time you could go up and just, like, start talking to Mike Jones or to Wise Disciple or to Alan Parr, or, like, anybody you wanted to.
That first day, we didn't.
Wait, Alan Parr was there?
Yeah, Alan Parr.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, people we've done.
What on earth was that? Was like, did he, like, command you in the name of Jesus to repent upon just seeing you right off the bat?
I don't know that much about Alan, so I didn't end up talking to him.
Go type in Alan Parr Mormons and tell me what videos come up first.
Yeah, he's definitely, like, I was working with the ones that I.
Before you start saying I'm misbehaved. Go Google Alan Parr Mormons.
No, it's true. Some are worse than others. But
yeah, we didn't talk to those guys too much.
Yeah, it was. But
use.
Like I said, huge names all over the place. We're interacting with all these people.
So the conference.
Go ahead, Luke.
The first day of the conference was just an evening thing. So like 5 to 10:30 p.m. Jacob and I never went into the room, the conference room. We were just in that one hallway for 4.5 hours straight, just talking to people, us going up to YouTubers, other people coming up to us. And it was just like nonstop for 4 hours. I'd only gotten like 3 hours of sleep the night before because I had to get up at 4 a.m., which was like 2 a.m. California time to get out there. And it was crazy. We never even stepped foot in the big room. And we were just talking to all the people. It was incredible. And my main takeaway is that the work that Jacob and Word Radio especially are doing, combined with some of the conversations that we had at that conference, are shifting the needle, both in terms of how creators talk about us online and if they even talk to us, which I think they're starting to do now. And then that kind of trickles down to the general population, at least the informed audience. There's people that never go on YouTube, don't participate in this kind of stuff, but at least for the people that do, I think their perception of the church is slowly moving, and this was a part of it.
Well, and I would say that and this is another thing that I noticed was, and I kind of encouraged this. I said, look, we have meaningful differences, but the problem is that you guys sometimes will attack things that are like stupid straw men, and and I was kind of telling them, like, that's not effective. Like when you go up and start saying like, hey, Mormons, they believe that they're saved by their works and that they earn their way to heaven. It's like, you guys, do you realize that just doesn't work? Like that you're hurting your own cause.
Don't tell them. It makes our missionary work a lot easier. Because then all we have to do is give the 2-sentence answer. The person that recited is like, oh, I've been duped. And then they just no, you're not trying to make their missionary efforts easier, bro.
Well,
you're trying to make ours.
This is the thing, though.
You need to tell them, no, dog. No, Alan, you are spot on, bro. That angel of light thing, dude, dog. And no, don't you dare mention translational issues of John 1:1. No, just say, dude, that John 1:1 thing. Alan, dude, whatever you do, Alan Parr, just please stop the John 1:1 argument. Please just stop it. It's too powerful. It's overpowered. It's our kryptonite. That is our kryptonite. Don't you dare. If you want to save people from us, and who was the guy that did that super cringe attack, the professional Christian on like the 2 volunteer missionaries and put the secret camera in while I argued with him for an hour and a half?
We're going to Preston Perry, and he was there too.
Oh yeah, Preston Perry.
There's a story with that.
Oh no, Preston Perry. I met Preston Perry. We talked about that exact video.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like this super cringe, predate upon 18-year-old that just graduated from high school. I had a good
conversation with him. Well,
look, I know you're freaking a Benedict Arnold who's friends with these pals now, all right? But all your buddies. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't call Jacob Hansen Benedict Arnold. I will not stand for that.
You actually got that political reference. I like it. Yeah. Nobody else gets that. Yeah, you guys are the only ones that do anymore, man. You mention any 1776 figures, and people are like, if it wasn't in Mel Gibson's The Patriot, I don't know what it is.
There's an ice cream shop in Provo called Founding Flavors, and so they have all these unique ice creams named after different founding fathers. If you go in the bathroom, Benedict Arnold's name is in the toilet, and you can take a crap on him.
That is awesome.
In the restaurant.
That's funny. That is genuinely funny. Okay, so anyway, all your buddies, what are you going to say? Okay,
I was going to tell a little bit of a story about what happened kind of as we go through this. So the first day, we're just interacting with all these different people, and mainly like other YouTubers and tons of people coming up to us. But then the next day, I ended up getting approached. Actually, I got approached the first night by this one guy. Comes up to me. I'm actually talking to Mike Jones of Inspiring Philosophy. This guy has a YouTube channel with 500,000 subscribers. We're just like talking about philosophy and talking about how my brother Forrest is wrong about atheism and all this stuff. Cool. And then this guy pulls me aside and he's like, hey, like I want you to come and talk with these other influencers and stuff. And I didn't really know who he was pulling me over to talk to. So, okay. And he brings me over and introduces me to this guy. And I didn't know his channel. And I found out this guy's a big channel. It's called God Logic. And
this cat right here, he seems super cool.
Yeah. He is. He was super cool. Really cool guy. I kind of got to know him. And anyway, didn't know much about him. And he does like sort of street debates, primarily with Muslims, and especially on the subject of the Trinity. And so his buddy wanted to like introduce me and say, hey, you guys ought to like do like a debate here at the conference, kind of like a street style debate. And I was like, I'm not down for sort of the street style debate.
I am. I'll go. I volunteer as tribute.
I know you will. I know you will. And so I said, but I'm down for like doing a discussion, because I do actually want to understand the Trinity better, and I want to really delve into kind of the deeper argument. So anyway, the next day they set up like a separate room for me and this God Logic guy to sit down and do an interview. And there's probably like 15, 20 people watching, and they're all like, Preston Perry is one of the people that are there watching. Like, I didn't realize a lot of these other guys have like fairly significant YouTube channels as well.
Inspiring Philosophy came in for like half an hour.
Yeah, Mike Jones was watching us for some of it. I mean, these are big people, and they're watching us have this conversation about the Trinity. And I'm just like, and anyway, it went super well. Like, yeah. I just tried to be genuinely curious and ask questions, and he realized, I think fairly early on, like, wait a minute, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Well,
I was a little bit like, holy cow. Like,
they didn't throw DVDs of the God Makers at you and say, let's start my school up! We've known about it for years!
So he did a very good job of not trying to say wrong things. He was mostly just like asking questions and then responding to that. So he did a very good job with that. But I was there in the audience, you know, there's 7 or 8 people, but they're like YouTubers or people who are in this thing. And apart from Inspiring Philosophy and Than, who've already interacted with Jacob and are very smart, they were kind of sitting there like, oh yeah, the Mormon's going to talk to this guy. And then Jacob starts talking, and they're like, okay, cool. And Jacob keeps talking, and they sit forward in their seats a little more, and they're leaning in, and then Jacob keeps talking, and they start looking at each other. Jacob keeps talking,
I didn't notice
and they start like muttering under their breaths and laughing and leaning forward even more. And then by the time it finishes, they just like all go up to Jacob and start asking him a ton of questions.
Well, God Logic was super nice. Like when we finished, the first thing he said is he looked at me and he goes, man, that was I've been doing this for 3 years, and that was one of the best conversations I've ever had. And I was like, cool, thanks, man. Like that, like I thought it was.
So why don't we invite him into the studio? God Logic, you're invited to come to the Ward Radio Wigwam.
Maybe he is. I will say he is the type to debate, but super cool guy. We ended up. So one of the things was, though, is at the end of it. This is the Preston Perry story.
Yes.
At the end of it.
The guy that faked interest from his body language the whole time was like, oh, so what do you think about it? It's like the most performative inquisition I've ever seen in my life.
Here's what happens with Preston. So I didn't even know he was in the audience, dude. No idea. Did not realize this. I say this at the end of it because he's like, you know, Jacob, you kind of like, you seem to know more than like a lot of other Latter-day Saints that we've talked to. And I was sort of like, you know what? That may be the case, but also a lot of people talk to the missionaries. And I kind of in the video, I look over at the camera and I'm like, guys, I just want to let you know, those missionaries that are going out, those like 18 and 19-year-old missionaries are volunteers, and they're not theologians. They are more like tour guides who will share their testimonies, and some of them are pretty knowledgeable. But for the most part, they're not there to like debate theology.
They were dancing at prom 6 weeks before they got called. Like, seriously, how big of a bonehead were you, Alan Parr, dude with a big tall hat? What was his name? Preston Perry, faking he was all interested. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, what were you like at 18, dude? What were you like at 18? That's what those dudes are like at 18.
Dude, here's what I did. I called him out. I didn't realize. I didn't call him out specifically. I was actually thinking about Jeff Durbin. But I said this. I said, look, if you're like a professionally trained theologian, and then you're like ambushing a bunch of 18-year-olds and then acting like you're all big and bad because you like beat up on a couple of 18-year-old volunteers. I was like, don't do that. Like, that's just like, I could go and ambush some volunteers from your church and make them look dumb on camera. And anyway, we finished the interview. Everyone's like, hey, that was really great. And then Preston comes up to me and he's like, I wanted to talk to you real quick about the missionary thing. And I was like, oh, no. I realized who it was. I was like, oh, I was like, oh, no. So I was like, oh, dang. But, and I kind of grinned. I was like, yeah, no, I don't have a problem with someone, you know, sort of, if the missionaries are teaching something that you think is false and you want to contradict that, you know, whatever, like, that's all cool. I just wanted to make the point that the missionaries aren't the best. Like, if you want to confront somebody who actually knows what they're talking about on like a higher level, don't confront the 18-year-old kid who just had prom 6 weeks ago. Like, try and find the theologians and talk with them. And everyone kind of agreed, like, okay, yeah, that's true. We get that. Like, they're not going to be the best source of, the deeper sort of analytical theology that we want to engage in. And
dude,
so,
I'm putting it up on the screen right now. Here's the video. I'm dragging my cursor in front of it. The dude sets up his freaking living room. All right. This is like To Catch a Predator, but instead of pedophiles, they're going after 18-year-old volunteers, and then the whole thing, I'm going to skip to the middle, is you got two, like, look at this. A paid pastor faking an interest in verses just to dunk on screen. It's like poor Jared Halverson yesterday, just getting completely beat to death by the feminist cry bullies. It's like watching a bunch of 25-year-olds.
Halverson is a big name.
Sure, but it's like
big boy pants on.
You're watching
I'll even say this to the missionaries. Like, if people want to go and disagree with our missionaries and show them why they're wrong about things, I don't have a problem with that. Like, look, if someone goes out to teach, they should be aware that other people might object to their teaching and refute that. My thing is that everyone needs to recognize, and Preston was willing to grant this, that these are not the best, right? Like, cool. And so it's kind of like, go find the best if you want to talk theology, right? That's my thing with it. So and he was cool about it, and the other guys were cool, and we got along. And
by the way, I completely recognize this might be just some of my Calvinist trauma, because like, if I had to count the number of dates I was invited on by girls from church, are like, oh, let's go to a Bible study. I'm like, oh, sweet, dude, I love the Bible. And if that's where we go on the way to ice cream, that's cool. I'm a believer. And then it ends up being like a one-on-one with their pastor to do an intervention on my Mormonism. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this mofo had you lure me into this situation that I can't get out of because our ice cream appointment isn't until 7 and our buddies aren't rolling up until 6:55. So I'll sit here and endure this garbage as a 16-year-old. I don't know, man. I just the amount of times that I got dragged into situations under absolutely false pretenses. I feel bad for these cats because I have no idea what false pretenses they were told that they were engaging in.
I was a little nervous that I was maybe getting pulled into something. I was a little like, Luke can explain that.
Yes,
I was a little nervous they might try and like bring me in, and then just turns into this rough cross-examination, and it ended up being really, it was not that.
It was
good. I think it was like a perfect example of like, when I want to have a conversation, like, and we both asked each other questions, and we laughed, and we talked about like how we crossed the uncrossable line by saying man and God are not ontologically distinct, and everyone was just like, oh, that's heresy. I'm like, I know.
Isn't it great? But by the way, what do you mean? You just use a bunch of big words. You said you crossed the line by saying what again?
So the idea is in creedal Christianity, God is a separate kind of species from us, right? Like, we're not.
Well, species would assume that he had a physical and corporeal body.
Whatever it is, obviously there's all sorts of issues.
Okay.
But just on a basic level, humans cannot become God any more than you can become a cat, or a man can become a woman.
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm going to put my hat up higher like Preston Perry, and then I'm going to dismiss you because you seem to know what you're doing, and I'm going to try and find the 17-year-old. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to try and find the 17-year-old that I can dunk on.
He does not speak for me. You were very nice and gracious.
Or me.
Okay, fine. I am totally traumatized. That's
why you gotta go meet some of these guys. What you'll find is that yes, you have your things to disagree on, but they're actually pretty cool guys.
Well, that's good to hear.
And I think what it does is it will prevent that kind of stuff from happening in the future.
Exactly.
There's a respect that develops that they, and also to a certain extent, they don't have a lot of people that are willing to have these conversations that are higher level. I mean, they kind of mentioned it, and you know this as well as I do. The scholars in our church a lot of the times are sort of very afraid to go out into the public realm outside of their like little bubble. And to a certain degree, I get that. I'm not totally crapping on people that want to be a little bit more reserved. But
there's not too many biblical scholars that are like hopping on God Logic's channel either, and kind of like that new hip modern YouTube space.
Yeah,
But,
and I think that we represent sort of a new wave of people that are getting into this, that are used to having these kinds of conversations. And you have to know the levels people are at, right? You have kind of your average member, you have people, I think, like me at sort of a level 2 that are, I know my way around these things. I'm pretty well philosophically versed. And then there's kind of like level 3, which is like Robert Boylan, and these are the people I'm going to, like Blake Ostler, Terrell Givens, like. But I do think, I wish those types would go and get more engaged in these public engagements.
Now, Cardin, I see you holding that book. I would like to remind you that Jacob needs to leave in 15 minutes, and we haven't even talked about the debate yet.
Well, I was just saying, I have a peace offering. I have a peace offering for Preston Perry. I'll give him the I'll give him the other ambusher, the ambusher's art book. You know what I'm saying? This is the one that we caught Jeff Durbin. Which one's the Burger King?
It was Jeff Durbin.
No, Jeff Durbin's the Burger King.
Yeah, Jeff Durbin's little cheat sheet, and we look it up, and it's all like hand photocopied and underlined.
One of the guys
Mormon
recycled for 700 years.
One of God Logic's friends made a video about our whole interaction that he released today, and he called out Jeff Durbin for not debating me.
Yes, he did. I saw that
Yeah,
part.
he was like, Jeff Durbin won't debate this guy. Like, it was really funny. He was kind of like calling out Jeff because Jeff is like, kind of like, I think Jeff's scared of this guy. Something to that effect.
Well, we'll have to watch a little bit of that after you leave, I think, since you're only here for a
couple
minutes.
So the meat and potatoes. What meat and potatoes am I missing?
Well, that was a lot of meat and potatoes. Jacob's conversation with God Logic, which will come out at some point.
Well, I put this down. I put this down so we could get to the part.
Well, now there was the debate.
Okay,
so
hit it.
Alex O'Connor versus David Wood on Did Jesus Claim to be God? Now, when we came to the conference on the first day, the day before the debate, we met Alex, like we said, right off the bat, and we talked a little bit about it. And he's like, oh, you guys are the Mormons, so I'm fine telling you a couple things. Just don't tell David Wood. And we're like, oh, don't worry. We're like kind of rooting for you, kind of rooting for David. We didn't really care that much because when you say, did Jesus claim to be God, what the Christians mean is, did Jesus claim to be the second person of the Trinity, which we say, no way, Jose. And so if Alex refutes that thing, then we don't really care too much. But if Alex is going to go after the historical record on Jesus's divine attributes that show up in the Bible, then we'd have a problem with that. So we're kind of in this, we don't care who wins, we're just going to see a good debate happen.
Yeah, rock on, cool.
So Alex starts talking to us about his strategy a little bit in the hallway. And he says, so what I'm going to do is, they're not going to expect me to use John because I've mentioned how it's a later gospel and not as historically reliable. But in my opinion, John actually has the lowest Christology, which means the level at which Christ is at, the teachings of Christ, Christology. It's actually the lowest. I think you mean to be on a different screen.
Yeah, I was getting there, bro.
There we go. Okay.
I was getting there. All right.
I was just making sure you knew.
Yeah.
I was just making sure you knew.
Don't
so
worry.
Then Alex says, yeah, John actually has the lowest Christology. And I said, wait a second, are you talking about John 17? And he said, yeah, I'm talking about John 17. Don't tell David Wood. And now, for those of you who don't know, what John 17 has is where Jesus Christ is about to go into the garden. It's after the Last Supper. He's about to go into the garden. He's only with the apostles, although I'm sure the Chosen will add a couple of the other women in there too. Maybe they were there. But he's with his apostles, and he prays for them, basically. And he describes the relationship that he has with the Father. And then he starts saying how the glory that the Father is giving to him, he's going to give the disciples. And the oneness that he has with the Father is the oneness that the disciples are going, or apostles are going to experience with him and with the Father, obviously presuming if they endure to the end. And so I instantly oh, I know what Alex is doing here. Kind of like how we tell somebody like Trent Horn not to argue like an atheist. The way that Alex was going to win this debate in his mind, without him knowing it, was by arguing like a Mormon.
Exactly.
And the thing is, he kind of did a good job at it. That's the angle that he took, because he's saying if he basically was making the point that Christ saw himself as like the perfect man, And so he brought up that John 17 and a couple other passages to basically be like, no, look, guys, Christ is trying to say that all these people can be like him if they follow the example that he set for them. But in Trinitarian thought, God and man have an unbridgeable gap between them. So that means Jesus wasn't claiming to be God. Mormon theology completely solves that problem. And we can accept everything that Alex was saying while also still saying that Jesus can still be God because we don't recognize that gap.
Wow.
Yes,
Jacob.
I was going to say on that same thing. He said that Jesus is presenting himself as the ideal man. And me and Luke looked over each other, kind of nodded our heads, because we were like, in Latter-day Saint thought, to be an ideal human being, what is the ultimate potential of a human being?
God.
To become like God. Because we don't believe in that big word ontological, meaning like a different kind of being. We are not a different kind of being from God. We are literally like children of God. And so Alex, and not only that, Alex argued a pre-existence in the Bible.
He implied it. Yeah.
Yes, and tell him Luke didn't get a chance to ask his question.
I know, I saw this. And okay,
tell him the question that you were going to ask Alex in that thing.
So one of the biggest places that Christians go to say that Jesus claimed to be God is, once again, in the book of John. I think it's chapter 10. He's talking to the Pharisees and the scribes, and he talks about Psalm 82, because they ask him, wait, are you claiming to be God? And he says, no, in the Psalms it says you're gods. So that kind of boosted Alex's argument of Jesus saying, no, I'm just like you, I'm just more progressed. And then after that, he's talking about Abraham rejoiced to see my day. And they say, wait, you're saying that you're older than Abraham? And he says, before Abraham was I am.
Yeah.
And so usually the Christians take that to mean that Jesus Christ is calling himself the great I am that showed up in Moses. But Alex kind of went through, and I don't know if I totally follow Alex on this logic. I don't think it was one of his strongest points. But essentially he was saying, if you look at the wording of those two passages, what Jesus is mostly claiming is just to say that he pre-existed Abraham. But wait a second. If Alex thinks that a good biblical interpretation is for Jesus to be saying that he pre-existed at least Abraham's mortal life, but he's also the same, he says Jesus is the same as man ontologically. Well, if he's the same as us and he pre-existed Abraham, then that means that Alex was arguing that the Bible says we all pre-existed our mortal existences.
Yes. and you were gonna and you were gonna ask him the question.
Yeah, because he only implied it.
Yeah, well, you were gonna ask him, do you believe that the Bible teaches a pre-mortal existence? And the thing is Alex would have been forced to have to say yes, otherwise he would have refuted his own argument. And I'm really bummed that you didn't get a chance to, because it would have been such a great thing to have Alex O'Connor be like, yeah, the Bible, the best interpretation of the Bible is that there's a pre-existent world. It's like, thank you. Like,
Okay, so we've got one. Actually, I'm just going to bounce through a bunch of super chats here really fast. The Kolob Society says, Jacob, what's your favorite part about putting Mormonism in the online Christian conversation? Shout out to Cardin for hosting a great show. Love Luke too. Excellent. So, Jacob, what's your favorite part about putting Mormonism in the online Christian conversation?
I would say correcting the misinformation. And the reality is people are actually pretty open to that, because they recognize that if they have bad information, then they might end up looking stupid. And so when you kind of help them know, like, hey, look, there's a lot of like bad information out there. And if you actually want good information, here's what you do. You go to the people within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who are scholars and theologians and authors and things like that, and not just some rando or some 18-year-old who just went to prom, 6 weeks ago. So that's probably my favorite thing, because A, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and B, they actually have an incentive to want to try and avoid, at least the good faith ones, they are open to that, trying to correct the record. And there like, that was one thing too I want to make sure everybody knows. Don't get overly jaded like Cardin, to the point that you think that they're all a bunch of, that they're all bad.
I grew up in the shadow of John MacArthur and the Sun Valley Church that made the God Makers. That was my backyard.
Yes, there are evangelicals out there who want to try and understand better. We had a great conversation with Mike Jones of Inspiring Philosophy, with Gavin Ortlund.
Look,
with
I know my
Ruslan,
role in this
a whole bunch of
trio.
them.
I know that in good cop, bad cop, you're the good cop and I'm the bad cop. I fully accept this. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
So, anyway, keep burning through those super chats.
Okay.
I don't have a ton of
My
time.
favorite part about watching Jacob and Ward Radio, says Mag Larson 7, debate people is seeing the knots the antis and atheists tie themselves into. Love watching you all. Yes, thank you, Mag Larson. Fidget says, I sense a new powerhouse coming into the fray with Alex's new knowledge of us. Somehow an atheist is doing wonders for Mormon apologetics. Very true. Rex Good says, sorry about my absence. 3 falls with 2 concussions. Ah, my man. Sorry to hear that, bro. And multiple injuries. God bless and Godspeed in your recovery, Rex Good. Now I've got the flu, but loving life, missing Ward Radio. Well, glad to see you back, Rex, who's now been a member of the channel for 30 months. Awesome. Stephen Diamond says, I don't remember, but does Jacob know about Temple Rocks? I still need to send the jar out, but Card needs to go to the priesthood restoration site. Yes, I do. Thank you very much again for another super chat, Stephen Diamond. And the Kolob Society says, Cardin, let's do a get together at the Easter pageant. Loving it. Actually, I've been invited by quite a few people. Wait, is that Hayden? The Kolob Society? Okay, cool.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your boy Hayden.
Dude, that'd be awesome.
One thing real quick on the stuff with Alex O'Connor. I just want to have everybody pump their brakes a second on Alex O'Connor here, okay? I met the guy multiple times in person, was on a show. Alex is an atheist who thinks that Joseph Smith was a fraud. Okay? He's not on our team. Okay? He will very quickly have someone on his show and talk about every trope and all of that kind of stuff. So I just want people to be careful that they don't, like, I think it's very cool that he's giving us a fair shake and actually talking to us, but just keep that in mind. I like that he's open-minded and stuff like that, but don't think that one day he won't make some episode that's going to, like, really make you cringe and be bothered by it. So,
are you suggesting that the
like
enemy of my enemy is not my friend?
Yeah, I just caution that to just be like, just recognize that he's not a believer and he likes to utilize us to sort of make a point against Christians. Okay? And now I think that can be useful in the sense that I think the answer for the Christians is to say, you know what, maybe we should not crap all over Mormons with a double standard. And that would be a good thing if he can help them to recognize their double standards. Like, I think that is a good thing. But don't just be cautious about getting overly excited thinking he's getting close to like getting baptized or something.
No, yeah.
They were a long ways from that.
I don't think anybody's saying that, but yeah, sure.
You'd be surprised. Well, I got to tell the story just because time's running out
Yeah,
of what
tell the
happens
story.
after the debate.
Oh yeah.
Hit it.
This was the part that was the craziest of all. So first of all, Luke, me, and my brother Forrest were there. It's just been great. We've just had a great time. I also got to meet Heliocentric, who has a great kind of atheist channel where he goes and reviews all these different churches. He's reviewed ours.
Yeah, I've spoken with him on the phone. He's actually a really cool guy.
Yeah, super cool guy. He was one of the people that I like hung out with the most because it was sort of like the Latter-day Saints and the atheists were kind of the weirdos in the crowd. So we're like, hey, let's like kind of stick together and,
Yeah.
kind of chat. It was fun. It was good. He was great. But afterwards, we get done. So Forrest, me, and Luke, we go to get something to eat. And In-N-Out Burger is about the only thing that's open. So we run down to the In-N-Out Burger, and we're just chilling there. And we're just like, man, this is so cool. Like, this was such a great conference. Like, just kind of blown away at the whole experience and how great it all was. We're talking about the debate and just feeling like this couldn't have gone any better. And then I look up and I see walking in the door, like, all the big names from the conference in one group together: Alex O'Connor, Ruslan, Mike Jones of Inspiring Philosophy, David Wood, who just did the debate with Alex. It's like the whole like celebrity after party just walks in the door to In-N-Out. They see us, we see them, we're like, hey! And so we get up, and there's like this funny like reunion at friggin' 12:30 at night in the In-N-Out Burger. And I'm sitting there chatting with Alex about the debate, telling him, oh yeah, it went really well, talking about the points he made. And then he's like, come here, let's sit down. And so
He sits down, has me sit next to him. Ruslan sits next to him, and we all just kind of crowd around, and it happens again. So I end up in another like casual conversation with Alex, but this time with like all the other big names around, and the boys just hang out at In-N-Out Burger until 2:30 in the morning, just like chatting it up, talking about everything under the sun. Free will, Mormon history, philosophy, like all of it. It was hilarious.
Rock on.
Cool. It was really cool.
What do us little people do? What do the little people do?
Don't worry.
Cardin,
I was a little person there.
No, I was a little person there. Like, I was sitting there and I'm just like, this is the weirdest thing. This is like the weirdest situation I've like ever been in my life. Well, and all these people that I watch online are all here in this room. We're all just together chilling.
We were just gonna say like hi to them, but then David Wood, like, he walks in and we're like, David, great job on the debate. He's like, oh, you were there? And we're like, yeah, we're the Mormons. And he's like, oh, cool, here. And he like sits down at our table and tells us a story about how his friend got cancer and debating apologetics helps him recover from it. And then he just like gets up and goes to order, and we're like, okay. And then we go over to Alex to say hi to him, and Alex is like, all right, come sit down. You sit here. You sit here. And we're like, oh, okay. And we just like got invited to the party.
So before you go, I know you have to leave soon. Would you say, what does this bode for all of us that are now entering this YouTube space? You think there's actually ecumenical hope for building bridges here? Do you think?
Look, there are people out there who, and even at this conference, there are some people that are still kind of cold shoulder, like, oh, don't trust the Mormons. But there are other people that are genuinely curious. And who, if nothing else, it isn't that they're going to agree with us. Okay, we're always going to disagree. But I would say to this, for anyone who wants to get involved in this sort of space where you're kind of engaging ecumenically with people who think different from you, the goal is not to win a debate with them. That is not the purpose of the engagements that you're having with them. The purpose is to just try and compare and contrast the different views that you have so that it's very clear what the nature of your disagreements are, right? Conversations should be about clarity, not about convincing everyone or the people watching or anything like that. And if they want to attack us, a lot of times I'll grant that, yeah, I can see from your perspective or with certain assumptions that are here that may be what you think. But I think you might be missing X, Y, or Z. And when you have that sort of detached conversation where you're trying to just say, look, I'm not trying to convince you and you're not really trying to convince me. It's more just, let's just figure this thing out together. People are interested in that. And they end up finding out that most of these people, they have just been given sort of they've just heard Jeff Durbin and like Mike Winger. Like, that's their impression of it. They've never actually talked to a Latter-day Saint who knows more than your average member. And once they do, they're like, this is weird. This is different. And it's heresy. But it's kind of interesting heresy.
Once they do, they start acting like the JP video we're gonna watch a little bit of after you leave.
Oh, dude, that is funny.
I think he went overboard. As you guys watch that, I've seen some of the clips. He talks me up way more than I would ever talk myself up.
It's true.
So Fidget the Crazy says true about Alex. She's referencing, but we're taking the W's where we can, which I think is good. And she also says Alex looked like he needs to be holding a gun in that photo, James Bond style. You know what? Being an Englishman with that accent, you know what? This does look a little James Bondy. This does look a little James Bondy. Pretty cool. He could be like a young, more of like a young Q.
Somebody said that should be an album cover.
Oh my gosh!
And then they actually made one and sent it to me. It was hilarious.
It was
called. It was called. I don't know. Maybe we're gonna have to bleep this out. But the Mass Debaters, and then the Kolob Oration. That was the name of the album.
That is brutal. So before you go then, bro, what's the future? What should we do? I'm going to invite somebody here to the Ward Radio Wigwam. Two people from this picture publicly right now in total good faith, no shenanigans, no games. I'm inviting them to the Ward Radio Wigwam. Who do you think are the most promising to have a fun, cool, and productive conversation? who in this picture right here?
I think that guy in the bottom right, probably.
The guy on the bottom right looks
yeah.
familiar.
Yeah.
Looks familiar.
He'd probably have some good stuff to say here.
Who else though? Who else? I see you guys had a law enforcement escort there. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's just Forrest, your brother, with his new mustache. Okay. Okay, Alex O'Connor and Ruslan, Mike from
Ruslan
Inspiring
for sure.
Yes.
Ruslan was way like chill and open-minded, and
now I've emailed him. Let me see if I emailed him about 3 weeks ago. I'm gonna look and see if he responded. But so you say Ruslan is Californian. Cool. He is from San Diego,
and he wasn't there. But the other person that I would say who is really interesting, although I don't know, I'm wondering who fits well with Ward Radio's vibe. I would also say maybe even, like God Logic and me had a great conversation. He was super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Jones is great, but he's always grumpy. So
yeah, it's not just a character on camera.
It's hilarious. He's actually very, very kind.
Yes, he is.
But he just has like a grumpy personality, and so he kind of always seems like he's grumpy and kind of like, rah, rah. But he's also like, it's really nice to meet you. Like, thank you very much for what you said.
And he's short. He's like 5'5".
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's awesome. I love him.
Tatted up grumpy dude.
By the way, that was the other thing that was hilarious. When we sat down for the debate, I sat down next to Mike Jones. Mike Jones was the one who prepared David Wood for the debate. I was sitting there with like the corner man.
So we were just getting like behind the scenes commentary.
Yeah, I was sitting there
debate.
I'm analyzing the debate with Mike Jones as we're sitting there together, like talking about what points, and he was like, I gave him that point. I was like, that's a good point. Like, good work.
Yeah. Whenever David Wood made a good point, Jacob would turn over to Mike Jones and they'd whisper to each other. And then when Alex made a good point, he turned the other way to me and Forrest about the good point that Alex made.
I'm curious.
It was really funny, actually. That was exactly what was happening.
So who's the Suge Knight of modern Protestant evangelical YouTube apologetics? You think it's Mike Winger? You think it's your boy
what
Mike?
What reference is that?
Suge Knight.
I don't know Suge Knight.
What does that mean?
What are you talking about?
Like, like 90s rap, like Suge Knight.
I don't know 90s rap.
A lot of people thought that
90s rap.
A lot of people thought that he was like the brains behind, Suge Knight. He like launched. Here's Suge Knight. He was in prison, but he was the one that told the lawyer to go find Snoop Dogg and got. Okay, forget it.
Okay, who's the brains?
Who's the brains? Who's the what's
like
another
the
pop
Elon
night?
Musk?
The smartest guy there?
Mike Jones.
Who's the coach?
Mike Jones.
We'll just say the coach.
Mike Jones.
If you want to know the smartest guy in that room, in my opinion, it's Mike Jones. Mike Jones is a brilliant guy, philosophically, theologically, scientifically. He just is. He's on another level that way. And
Mike Jones is the smartest.
The smartest guy I'd say is Mike Jones. The coolest guy I would say is probably Ruslan.
Ruslan's the coolest guy, and then the most Mormon guy.
Ruslan would know exactly who Suge Knight is. Man, every time I make a pop culture reference, every time
you guys would get along talking about the culture references. Like, he's all about that.
Look, so this is Suge Knight. Marion Hughes Suge Knight Jr. is an American record executive, former NFL player, and convicted felon who is the co-founder and former CEO of Death Row Records. They're the ones that were formed in 1991 that launched the career of... Snoop Dogg. They're the one that did Dr. Dre's The Chronic in 1992. He's, considered like, let me see. 3 hours later, someone shot into the car. Knight was driving, injuring Knight and fatally wounding Shakur. Yeah, he was the one with Tupac Shakur when there was the assassination attempt on them. The whole 9 yards, man.
Well, real quick, if you're going to, with all this ecumenical stuff or just bringing people on talking about them, here's one of my big things too. You have to know what you're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Because
Suge Knight.
You're right.
Rap.
That would be good. If you're going to talk about, because there are areas that are easier for us, there are areas that are harder for us, and it's the same with them. So if they want to like bring up all the challenges to Mormonism, be like, okay, then let's bring up challenges to the Christian worldview, like the creedal Christian worldview, and kind of, balance it out. Or say, we're going to try and understand each other and just make sure, like, so much of this is my number one advice to anyone engaging in this space. More important than knowing your stuff and knowing a lot of things is the format and like the meta sort of strategy, right? Like if I'm going to go in and do a, sit down with someone who's just going to grill me for 2 hours on every tough thing in Mormonism, like it's going to be really, really hard.
On your mission when you're 18 years old or after your mission?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You have to have, and like, for example, when I had that really great conversation with God Logic, it was because we knew that we were going to have a conversation, not a debate. So anyway, I got to roll, guys.
Roll.
Right, see you, man.
Rollest thou like a rolling stone, my friend. You crushed it.
Alrighty.
You did well. Be gone
ya.
with thee. And go learn about Suge Knight.
All right,
You need to look up
Bye-bye.
Suge Knight. Okay, so Luke, is there anything that he missed, my man? Do you think that's all? It's all on the up and up. Everything he's saying.
Yeah, we've established that inspiring philosophy, Mike Jones is the smartest, and then like the coolest is Ruslan, but the most Mormon is Gavin Ortland.
Shut
that
up,
guy
really?
Is like 6'4". He's always wearing a button-up shirt.
He does look like a
He's
BYU
got his hair
adjunct professor.
combed. It's nice and short. He's very kind. He's smart. He looks like he actually lives the stuff that the Bible
Jeez,
tells him
are
to.
you writing his Tinder profile, or are you like,
No, he's married with kids.
Oh, so then, yeah, he is like a BYU adjunct professor.
He's basically a BYU adjunct professor, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So do you have some commentary on something he said? Or
I talked to him, but we are going to, after this, record an episode responding to something they said. That was the thing that I talked to him about. And I think him especially, there's this aspect where the Protestants and Catholics, they talk to each other.
Okay.
And they'll say things
Lots of my
as
videos.
if there's only two options, but they don't realize that there's the third option of Mormonism. So especially something like the Trinity, they'll just assume the Trinity. Or something like apostolic age ended and we don't have any more scriptures. They just kind of assume that as their starting point. Even in the debate that David Wood made with Alex, I was watching that and saying, I agree 75% with David Wood. And I agree 75% with Alex O'Connor. Because they're coming from a different presupposition than I'm coming from. And so a lot of the arguments they're using against each other actually harmonize really well when it's inside of the gospel. So I think part of what putting out the Latter-day Saint message into the YouTube space will do is it will even help some honest actors like Gavin Ortland, and this is what I told him specifically, it'll help them see that third option and speak in a more well-rounded way about some of the topics that Latter-day Saints come in with a completely new, novel, and unique perspective on a variety of different theological topics.
Yeah, when people have asked me that, I've said, so many people, they either know Catholicism with all of its pros, its cons, its strengths, and its scandals, or they know Protestantism with all of its pros and its cons and its strengths and its scandals. But they always, when they say they meet a Mormon, if they've never gone to church or if they've never hung out with us, they have to put our circular peg in the square hole of Catholicism and get it wrong and not know how to contextualize us, or they have to put it in the round peg of Protestantism, and then they only get half of it right. There's some things that we share, but it really is just something different. What do you do when it's a star-shaped peg?
Yeah.
You don't know how to contextualize it until you experience it. And that's why we're so huge on epistemology and saying like, okay, well, take Moroni's promise, read this scripture. Like, well, what's the Book of Mormon like? Well, the Book of Mormon's like the Book of Mormon. I mean, in some ways it's like the Bible, in some ways it's like the Apocrypha, you know what I'm saying? I mean, in some ways it's like, I don't know, William Shakespeare, or like, but just,
Well, and what I'm noticing, it's not only that we have different theological answers, but we even have a different answer to how much theology matters. Because they are like, you have to accept the Trinity. If you don't accept the Trinity, that's like a huge deal. It's another gospel that Paul warned us about. The Mormons are going to hell. We need to convince them otherwise of this. And like multiple of them were so confused. They'd be like, you think that I'm a heretic, so why are you acting like this Trinity thing isn't that big of a deal? I'm like, I didn't say it wasn't important. I'm just saying it's not foundational, because what we really focus on in the church is trying to do what Christ told us to do when he came to the earth. Love our neighbor, be meek, humble, lowly, parable of the talents, working on what God has given us to be given the reward, not from our own efforts, but because we see it as a progression in the plan of salvation, this life on earth. They don't really see it that way. I mean, obviously they do, and they'll talk about the importance of keeping different commandments, but in the second day of this conference, the theme of it was building virtue. So it's just a whole day, many sessions about building virtue. Do you know how many times they talked about how important it was to keep the commandments that God has given us in order to have his spirit to be with us?
Multiple?
Zero times.
Really?
Yeah. It's all about more of the kind of TED Talk level, like Gavin Ortlund did, to talk about don't be mean to people, or like, let's learn how to have better conversations.
Okay.
Or
but couldn't one say that maybe that's the distilled version into the pop culture nomenclature of how to be more Christ-like in your interactions with people?
Well, these are like, they had like top tier popular, like Ruslan brought on his own pastor to come out, and they talked about the 6 lies of family that were told. And one of the lies wasn't that it's okay to have premarital sex. It was more like, one of the lies was it's more important to take your kids to soccer practice than the church activities, which is like, okay. But it's kind of just more like generalized, practical, soundbite chicken soup for the soul type of information.
Okay.
And they're really big on just following God's path for you. Like, you accept Jesus and then God kind of just like guides you, which we are totally big on as well in Latter-day Saint faith, but we lay out the path a little bit more. Like, look, he's given us these commandments, and as you live inside of that structure, then your life, you're run and not be weary, walk and not faint, the windows of heaven will open as you pay tithing, that kind of stuff. It's a lot more structured. But for them, it seems to be more of this, you accept Jesus, and then like God just kind of guides you in your path. And so the important things in your life is more like discerning if you should start your own YouTube channel or become a pastor, or where you should go to get married, rather than like following a set baseline set of commandments that are given to everybody. It's very interesting, and I hope I'm not strawmanning it. Whereas the Catholics are really big on like the Mass as a sacrifice, believing that the Eucharist is the true body and blood of Christ, participating in those ordinances, going to confession. And so they have that too, but it seems to be more ordinances focused, of like doing the ordinances, going to the Mass, participating in it. They do focus on the commandments more, but I don't know. I think that's why it's important for Latter-day Saints to be curious about other faiths, because you see not only these theological differences, but just like this day-to-day life application differences of each religion, and pull out the pros from it, like the things that they're doing that we're maybe not doing too well, but then also maybe some of the cons of it, of, oh, this seems a little watered down compared to our religion. I can really appreciate now in my faith how they emphasize this, because evangelicals don't get that very much, or same thing with Catholics. So that's a long way of saying that learning about other faiths is good.
Yeah, okay, Fidget the Crazy says, no, sorry, Snagret says, I think Jacob is beating out Brad now for Apostle 2026. Well, you're wrong. Brad is Apostle 2025. It's happening later on this year.
That's true.
Shortly thereafter will be Jacob Hansen, and half of the progressive members of the church will resign that day. No, we're just kidding. So what was something else you mentioned that you were learning things that you thought that we could do better, that you were learning from them, right? What were some of these?
Before that, I will say that they, in that session talking about the 6 lies of family, they talked about kids like doing sporting activities on Sundays, and they were very lively. They're kind of like the hip pastor and his wife. It's like very tall, skinny, got the hairdo, tan, everything like that.
Who is this?
Oh gosh, what is his name?
Look, I'm putting
It's Ruslan KD's pastor.
Evangelical, tall, skinny pastor, got the hair. Okay, let's just see who we got. Alistair Begg was a long-haired Christian. Kenneth Copeland.
You're gonna
First
find
video that comes up is Kenneth Copeland.
Yeah, that's not the way to find.
So when
that
I Google
information.
this is the first picture that comes up. Is this what you were going for?
Sort of. Less late 90s.
Okay, yeah.
More T-shirts.
Okay, more T-shirts.
Not
All
as
right.
goofy hair, but
All right.
sort of.
So they were given a discourse,
very,
yeah.
and very lively. A lot of young people at that conference. Very encouraging. The average age was probably like my age. 30
Okay,
or so.
cool. That's good
Really
to hear.
cool stuff. Even a couple of families with like kids and babies. But so they're talking about this, and they talk about the importance of putting spiritual activities in the family above secular activities.
Okay.
And he says, now, guys, I just got to be honest here. This is just the way it is, so I'm going to say it. The Mormons have us beat on this.
What?
The Mormons are dominating this.
On what thing specifically?
The kids would have a soccer game. One of their soccer games would be on Sunday because it's the tournament. All the Christian kids would go to the soccer game, but you know who isn't there? The Mormon kid. And you know who was fine with it? The coach. Why are Christians not even trying to ask the coach if it would be okay if they could do their church activities and focus their lives around that aspect of their lives rather than just, okay, the
They
game's on
admitted
Sunday.
that on stage?
Yeah. And this is coming from people that aren't that big on like keeping the Sabbath day holy actually being a thing. Like everything's open now except for Chick-fil-A on Sunday.
Wow.
And they're always just doing normal weekend activities on Sunday now. It's really unfortunate. And that's another thing that Latter-day Saints need to do is try to help us, because the culture, while they're not as powerful as they once were, and while they get a lot of stuff wrong about us and there's an amount of bad blood between us, Christians are still, especially evangelicals, are still a cultural force in the United States. And as they kind of lower all the standards and it just kind of turns into this more wishy-washy, let God guide your life and that's the purpose of life type of thing, it makes it harder for us to do that as well.
Whether we like to admit it or not, our fates are intertwined and our wagons are hitched to the horse of North American Protestant evangelicalism is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool. So any other takeaways, my man?
There was a
takeaways?
dude that had moved from somewhere. He almost seemed like Pastor Jeff. Kind of the same hairdo, young guy with kids. He moved to Provo 5 months ago from Virginia, I think it was. And he just loves it. He's like, the Mormons are so nice. And the mountains are so beautiful. And he said, Utah, especially Provo, Utah, is the single place in the United States that's metropolitan. Things are actually happening there. It's a bustling, growing place that hasn't been taken over by liberals. It's the only place in the whole United States that's like that. And I'm so happy that I get to live there. And I'm building a house there. I have to make sure it's positioned the right way so it's facing the mountains so I get their sunshine in the morning. And it's so awesome. And my Mormon neighbors are so nice and the streets are so clean. And I go to their church sometimes and I'm excited to go to the Salt Lake Temple when it tours, when it gets rededicated. Like, and he likes watching Ward Radio and he likes watching Thoughtful
shut
Faith
up, really?
And, yeah.
Man, do I got to clean up my act? Is that what you're saying, bro?
I mean, kind of.
Oh, that's funny.
He was one of those ones that was like, I like watching you a little more than Cardin. Cardin is fun, though. Like, don't get me wrong, but I kind of prefer when you're on the...
All right, so which one of these guys was it? Here's the Bless God Summit website. Looks pretty hip and cool. Mm-hmm. And here's our boy Ruslan giving this the hip opening. Was it one of these dudes?
No, he was just an attendee.
Oh,
Yeah.
He was just an attendee. Okay, cool. Rock on. Yeah, sweet, man. This looks like there was a lot of cool people there just having a lot of fun. There's your boy, Gavin Ortland,
My man.
Okay, sick. So how are we going to make these inroads in the future? What do you suggest? You're you've been there. You've done reconnaissance. You're like Ammon, who's...
maybe I'm more like Tiankum.
Or Tiankum is the dude that put the javelin through the guy's heart, right?
And putting the javelin through the heart of the bad arguments that they make.
Oh, okay.
that
No, but I'm
good?
saying, who's the guy that says, "Oh, for I have lived among the Lamanites, and I see that they are even more righteous than you are, for they love their families and they live the basics of the gospel better," and so on and so forth. Who was that? Come
was
on.
that Mormon towards the end of the Book of Mormon?
Yeah,
he's
I know it's in
chastising-
like the last third of the Book of Mormon.
I'm pretty sure that's him, where he's like chastising.
Or was it in the war
Nephites.
chapters in Alma? I can't remember. You know what, chat? You guys might
Well,
have to
it
help
kind
us
of-
out here. This is embarrassing.
It expresses that sentiment several times throughout the Book of Mormon.
Yes, exactly. So I'm seeing if the live chat helps us out. It says Tiancum is too unstable for that. Jacob, it says it might be Jacob. There we go. Thank you very much. Fidget the Crazy. She reminds us that it is Jacob. Oh, no, but Snaggerit says, I think it was Mormon. Then Fidget comes back and says it was Jacob. Oh, so it looks like we don't have a definitive answer from the chat here. Oh, bunch of people are coming in and saying Jacob. Okay, cool.
It
All right.
expresses the sentiment several different times, but I'll take Jacob as an answer. That works for me.
Okay, awesome. So what do you suggest? What media collaborations would you recommend that I actually right now invite people to do?
Ruslan would be the best.
So should we just march down to San Diego and say like, yo, Ruslan, what are we going to do? We're going to drop an album with the guy? We just going to hang around and
Well, the
talk like
thing- so
1990s
While Jacob was
LA-based
geeking-
rap? He's a San Diego guy.
while Jacob was geeking out with Alex O'Connor and Forrest over like predeterminism and if free will exists and all that kind of stuff, I scooted on over to Ruslan and started asking Ruslan a couple questions, which prompted him to ask me a couple questions. He's definitely interested in Mormonism. He's definitely a curious guy. And he also definitely has a lot of these preconceived notions that he's willing to challenge.
Let's do it.
So he would like, wait, but I was kind of under the impression that you guys think Jesus is a created being. Is that like, no, it's actually like this. He's like, oh, okay, that's really interesting. Da-da-da-da-da. And you like get your own planet. I was like, well, actually. So he's like our target audience of people that have heard these things over and over and over, but they're willing to say, I might just be misinformed about this, and I'd be happy if you talk to me about it. So,
Okay, cool. All right, Ruslan, my man, you're invited here to come sit in the empty chair right there. That should have been better lit before I made the invitation right there. You know what I'm saying?
you can sit in
It
my
looks
chair,
like
Ruslan.
we just made it look like we invited him to one of those like tell-alls where the person that's afraid to admit who they
Just a
are
silhouette.
gives the secrets of the Fortune 500 company that's abusing the tax code or something. But okay, yeah, my man, Ruslan, you are invited. We'll fly you up here to LA, drive you up here to LA. I mean, I don't know what's faster, flying or driving. San Diego's close enough where it's like right on the edge. You know, you could probably blitzkrieg that in 3 hours.
I'm pretty sure he's in like the Carlsbad area where the conference was held.
Okay, cool.
So
Rock
in no
on,
traffic,
rock on.
it's a little over 2 hours
Oh,
here.
most beautiful part. Lake Tahoe and San Diego are absolutely gorgeous.
Lake Tahoe.
If film and Hollywood were not my aspiration and what I'm working on and so on and so forth, I would, if that were not my employ here, then forget LA. Actually, LA County does have its own beauty, but I think the I-80 corridor in Northern California is just gorgeous. And then everything along the border from San Diego to the tip of Baja California is absolutely breathtaking. I would live in San Diego any day. I think that would be just premier living, and he gets to do it. What a lucky guy. So anyway, yeah. So Ruslan, my man, will fly you up here, stick you up in a cool hotel, and we'll record some hip stuff. I don't know, just a little Q&A, a little what's up, you know, that could be fun. And anybody else? Who's your second pick? So here's Preston Perry. Should we get Preston Perry?
You know,
when
he's willing to repent. No, I'm joking.
You know, I think the Sean McDowell guy used to be Mormon, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was raised Mormon. He talks about that in some of those videos. And yeah, we got to choose a better picture for Mike Jones. Here he definitely does look like he failed.
No, that's just what he's like. So
he just failed the Jedi test and is about to, about to turn to the dark side very quickly.
After Jacob finished his conversation with God Logic and all the people swarmed around him and asked him all the questions, we headed out, and just sitting in the soft chairs by the pool with Heliocentric was Mike Jones, just like,
oh, that's funny.
He was just,
actually,
like,
one of
sitting
my
there,
best
like-
friends is that way, so who knows? Maybe I would get along with Mike Jones really well. You
and
know?
Jacob said, Mike, you look a little grumpy. And he's like, I'm always grumpy. He's like, what are you grumpy about right now? He's like, it's cold outside.
That's funny.
Okay.
So is this your skinny pastor, Jeff and Aaron Moores? He looks like he's in ridiculous shape.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there he is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to see them doing all this. To be honest with you, I'm glad to see them doing all this. It hasn't seemed like there's been that much cohesion or popularity in the Christian right really functionally since like the 70s and the 80s. It kind of got a little bit toxic there in the 90s and the early 2000s. There was kind of like a resurgence in Catholicism, I think a little bit earlier with like Matt Fradd and with Pints with Aquinas and, the 5 or 6 Catholic influencers that, started their YouTube channels and started going to town, really creating some positive culture besides doing kind of just apologetic tit for tatting. And then now this is the first Bless God Summit, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
We're getting some really, really cool things going on here in California. There's the California Will Be Saved, which looks really cool. Have you seen the California Will Be Saved?
No.
Yeah, so there's this group. I don't know if Ruslan is associated with it, but California Will Be Saved. I don't know if they do like a concert series or what, but here it is. Here's California Will Be Saved. Like back when everybody was just, bagging on California, talking about how they're going to move out during COVID, talking about how, it's Babylon, it must be forsaken. Flee thee from Babylon and the whole 9 yards, right? There was this group that kind of rose to prominence, and they were called California Will Be Saved. And oh man, it's not loading right now. Look at that. I'm just getting the.
Ooh, impressive.
Yeah, dang it. Maybe the servers are slow right now. That's kind of a bummer. But there's this group called California Will Be Saved, and I think they started doing like concerts and things like that. But they'll have big groups, like they'll meet down like on the beach and stuff like that. And I can't remember if they were doing baptisms or what, but it's actually a pretty fun and interesting organization as well. So anyway, any other stories you forgot? Do we want to go there en masse as members of the church next year? Like, what do you think we should do? Like, how should we collaborate with these folks? How should we, just boom, make it happen with these guys? You have been in and amongst them.
It's true. We have numbers now. Stuff is possibly in the works with Gavin Ortland. Don't know if that will end up happening or not. That'd be cool. I think just in terms of people's personal lives, it's just a matter of getting curious about them. And we have plenty for them to be curious about us about. We just need to kind of give them first, let them know that we, are very interesting. So they actually know to direct curiosity in that direction. And then also letting them know that we're nice and that we're open to these kind of things. I think there's a partly true stereotype of Mormons that we're like the really nice people,
okay,
but that are kind of naive. Like we don't ever think about these kind of things. We don't.
Well, is that because they're always
predating?
Is that because they're always predating upon the 18 and 19-year-old missionaries?
It's partly because of that, but it's also partly because of this culture of like, oh, Bible bashing never works, so we should never do it as members. And if you're actually a holy, Christ-like member of the church, you would never do something like that. The problem is sometimes what Bible bashing means is just any conversation where you might use Bible verses or logic to talk about the gospel with somebody else. So that's a slight culture problem with us. They have their own problems, and I think we can push through it. But I see you've gotten...
Yeah, I for some reason their website wasn't loading, but I was able to pull up a YouTube video. Yeah, these guys will shut down just an entire... I think they shut down right in front of... the Pantages Theater and right down in Hollywood, the main drag there, not Sunset Boulevard. It's Hollywood Boulevard. There we are. And yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that right there is right in front of El Capitan, and then just hold like a big fat concert all night with literally just thousands in attendance. And cool. Yeah, I mean, it's fun, it's cool, it's rad, it's hip, and I gotta tell you, I love these concerts, man. It's pretty cool. It's like you're like moshing to Jesus, but it's not a mosh pit, but like it's like you're high on Jesus. That's what I mean. Not moshing to Jesus.
I will admit that anytime, because they had a number of artists there, anytime somebody was doing some sort of music set worship thing at this conference, yeah, I just pieced out to the hallway and found somebody to talk to.
Oh, like, no, dog. That's the best part.
Not my thing.
Oh yeah, no. If your buddies ever So see, here's the trick. Like if they ever now, see, you're married already, so they're not going to be sending their pretty girls to try and fool you into coming to a Bible study. You know, I guess you're out of that part of your life. But here's the trick. This is how I learned to navigate it. All right. The first half hour, it's always music. It's always worship music, and it's awesome. Maybe even 45 minutes if the pastor's got a short. So instead of showing up late like they do in Mormonism, missing the sacrament and the opening prayer, and really all you're missing is like the boring church business and announcements and everything. You can show up 15 minutes late to any Mormon church meeting, and you haven't missed the good stuff. You're right on time for sacrament and then the talks, right? It's the reverse with your evangelical buddies. Just be like, oh, yeah, dude, I'd love to go to your service. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to show up 5 minutes early because I'd love you. Now, unfortunately, I got to leave in the last 30 minutes if you don't mind. You know what I'm saying? But, I'm going to be there on time. Show up 5 minutes early, and then you get good donut holes. No coffee, but they usually do have hot chocolate. You know what I'm saying? Then you'll get your donut holes. You'll get
That's what they had every morning at this conference.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I know that, dude. I know the evangelical thing. Baby.
I know how it works.
I've been duped into enough Bible studies on dates. So you show up there a little bit early, and then they got their donut holes and they got their coffee, and then you're gonna go in, and then you just sit there jamming to the music, like nod your head. You don't have to do this thing. You know what I'm saying? You can just kind of like enjoy it. Nod your head. Boom, shakalaka, boom. And then like 5 minutes into the sermon, that's usually when it starts getting really anti-Mormon. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think so.
Oh, dude, they always have a dig, bro. My last one I went to last Easter, right? You know what I'm saying?
I just told you that the one time that Mormons popped up at this conference was to say that we were totally wrecking them in terms of Sabbath
so you're right. So, you're right. You're right.
And he was a pastor, too.
Was he really?
Yeah, Ruslan's pastor. He was the guy that said that.
Oh, yes. So that's Ruslan's pastor, or just a pastor that collaborates?
Ruslan's personal pastor.
Wow, what would that be like?
I don't know.
Would that be like stressful knowing that? Would that be like stressful knowing that? Like Justin Bieber's pastor, like don't screw that up or else you're on the head of the Hollywood Reporter.
It's a very interesting dynamic because you kind of like self-select in Protestant churches your level of involvement.
Yeah.
And so if you're a pastor and you have a big name person in your congregation, they kind of get like subsumed into the leadership areas of that congregation and do a lot of stuff there. Whereas in the church, it's not like that. I'm pretty sure I remember hearing Glenn Beck being like a primary teacher.
Yeah. And like
if he was
you
in
see
a Protestant
Brandon
church,
Flowers like singing in the 5-person choir.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you're like a big name evangelical, you usually go to kind of a bigger church and you always are in some sort of influential position, if not a name, just like in terms of participation with the pastor, because you're always collaborating with him on stuff.
Okay,
it's just a completely different dynamic.
Well, do you want to dive right in right now to your Gavin Ortland thing? Do you want to take us home, or?
Well, no, we should watch the guy react to Jacob's God logic discussion.
Okay,
just
let's do it.
Briefly.
Put it in the Discord right now.
It
Put it
should
in the
already be there.
It's already in the Discord.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to make sure I'm not missing any super chats here. If you guys have any super chats you would like to send us and it's germane to the conversation and appropriate, we will definitely do our best to read them on screen. Thank you to everybody that has super chatted us thus far. Just going to give a couple of shout outs really fast. If you're a person of means and you'd like to support the channel, please consider a generous contribution through Zelle or through Venmo. We've got about 50 shirts left in the wardradio.com merch store, and right now we still have about 20 or 25 War in Veteran Heaven hats that are available as well in the merch store. Please make sure that you guys go and check those out online as well. And let me pull up out of the Discord this final video. It is by JP Uncut, if I'm not mistaken, right?
He has his own YouTube channel, but most of what he does is kind of like a producer, and it seems like for Ruslan and other people. So he was sort of the behind the scenes that coordinated with Ruslan and God Logic to make Jacob's conversation with God Logic happen. And then, of course, he was in the room at the time.
Okay, cool. Awesome. That's awesome to hear. So here's Homeboy. What timestamp do we want to go to on
Probably
the
around
video?
3 minutes. He literally goes for like, I've only watched 30 minutes of the video. And so far for the whole 30 minutes has just been him saying how amazing of a debater Jacob Hansen is. And how he said he ran circles around Trent Horn.
Oh, no, really?
He said he bodied Trent Horn. He said he ran circles around Trent Horn. He said he decimated Trent Horn. He said he decimated the Apologia guys. He said that Jeff Durbin is afraid to debate him.
Okay. Okay, so we're going at
hilarious.
exactly 3 minutes in right here. 3 minutes and 3 seconds.
I can honestly say that. This guy buried Trent Horn in a debate.
See, right off the bat.
He buried James White students in a debate. James White had these students that debated him. Let me pull that up for you real quick because I got in my homework. So there was a solo scriptural debate.
And look at the title.
I was watching it when I was in the
this
airplane.
video.
So let me see.
Yeah, it says Logic debates best Mormon at Thoughtful Faith 2020 and possible at Cosmic Skeptic debate on the Trinity. Okay, so we just keep listening. All right, see what he's got to say.
Faithful Thought, Apologia, Mormon debate. Just give me a second. And I am a fellow Protestant. Where's this guy at? Right here. Oh, okay. So, there it is. So let me show you guys something. Let me show you guys how good this guy is. You know,
talking about Jacob,
my brother
right?
here goes to that church.
Wait.
But my brother, it hurts me to tell you that the members of your church got buried by this Mormon. Who's the Mormon? Right here. So this Mormon right here is the greatest Mormon debater of all time. I say all time. This guy right here. Everybody in the conference was saying it. This guy is the greatest. He debated two guys in James White's church. All right. And he barbecued these two brothers right here. It wasn't even close. I mean, there were people in the Apologia Center. Now, this brother said he disagreed, and you better disagree because that's your church. That's your church members. You feel me?
Okay.
So you got to protect your guys. But objectively speaking, right, you just go by the comments, you go by their channel. This did not go very well. The consensus was that these Protestants were not prepared. You know what I'm saying? It didn't go their way. That was just the consensus.
All right, so
you know what I'm saying? And I understand that.
This is pure gold, bro.
he just went on like that for 30 minutes.
Dude, I could watch this all day.
And I've only watched 30 minutes of it. The
This
whole hour and a
is
half
so
long thing might have
funny.
been like that.
You literally pegged it about 3 minutes in. He just goes off.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
He had to
that
talk
is
about how the
so
Mexican
funny.
food was really good and made him gain weight at the conference. And then all the rest of it was just Jacob Hansen.
We're going
so
again.
There's
amazing.
a lot of people that
Wait.
are Protestants, but this guy didn't just cook Protestants right here. He cooked a very famous Catholic, and that Catholic is this guy right here. Now this right here was a murder scene. This is a Catholic. You know what I'm saying? Somebody said also the dude is in the left is no longer in the church. What kind of church?
Oh yeah, one of the guys
No,
from
no, don't
Jacob's
do that.
Apologia debate is not in Apologia Church anymore.
Yeah, that's kind of okay.
He was actually texting Jacob during the conference. I won't say what he said because it's private, but Jacob still talks to him.
Really?
Yeah, they're
because
friends.
now the question is, well, I think the big question is, they say that once you're saved, you're always saved in Calvinism, right? Well, what do you do when somebody leaves a Calvinist church?
Then it was proof that you were never saved.
Then it's proof that you were never saved. And it's like, well, wait, hold on a second. Which one is it? By the way, it almost sounds like you're saying that what is bound in heaven is now bound on earth, right? So Austin Falter's asking to jump in. Should I just allow?
He said he has memes. Apparently, we have
He's got memes.
Surprise fourth hour memes.
Okay, so then we've got Austin Falter up in this mess right now. I'm gonna have to.
What's going on? The memes are cooking. They're cooking. They're coming along. So I just stall for a minute. I got some good ones.
Now this guy wasn't the only person to have good words about Jacob's debate.
Okay. We got to keep listening. Can I just listen to like another 30 seconds of this, dude?
This is cathartic. Yeah, sure.
Okay,
sure.
hold on.
Go ahead.
This guy right here, who are you talking about? This guy's no longer in the church? This guy?
Yeah, it's the dude on the left.
All right, regardless. They
the
still
first
got
half
cooked,
of the debate.
Regardless, they still got cooked. You know, I got to keep it 100. If I don't keep it 100, I ain't going to keep it 99. Anyways, for those of you guys that are curious to know who this guy is.
This guy, where's this guy from? He sounds like all my friends in L.A.
I mean, he should live in the area because he works with Ruslan and stuff. And
well, I shouldn't say all my friends in LA. Not all my friends sound like that. But, like, this dude's a local. I'm telling you. This dude's a local.
We'll talk versus Trent Horn. Right here. This guy, somebody said, okay, so this guy right here that you see, Trent Horn, he also got bodied by this woman.
Bodied?
You know, and everybody in the conference agreed. They said everybody was in the conference like, yo. Somebody said, what good debate do you think he made in his what? What good debate do you think he made in his you mean argument, right? I think that this guy's so quick that Trent Horn wasn't able to keep up. Okay? So I think this guy was so quick. Quick, so rapid fire, right on top of it. Some of his arguments on Exodus, etc., that a lot of people were just unable to keep up.
Whoa, dude. This, okay, just one more 90 seconds. This is just...
Well, he's not wrong. Now, I wouldn't say that everybody in the conference came and flocked around Jacob and said that he won the debate hands down. A number of people told him that he did a great job in the debate. I don't know if what they meant by that was they thought he beat Trent or not, but there was at least one dude that I was personally there for that told Jacob on the first night, as I believe he was a Catholic actually, a fan of Trent Horn, said, Jacob, you ran circles around Trent Horn in that debate.
Really?
Which Jacob and I were so surprised about. I was there personally at the debate. I helped Jacob prep the debate.
Yeah.
And when we were in the car after it was over, we were kind of like, I think you won overall. Trent made these 2 or 3 good points that you didn't respond to too well, but I think you get him on this thing. Feeling pretty good about this was kind of how we ended it.
Okay.
So to hear people that should be on Trent's side saying like, oh, you bodied him, you destroyed him. Like, wow.
Dude, this JP,
better than we thought.
He gets a sub from me right now. I am subbing to his channel right there. Boom shakalaka. Speaking of subscriptions, make sure you guys subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell so you get alerts. We're going to be reading super chats here in a minute. Just 90 more seconds of JP Uncut. This is hilarious.
So somebody said, oh, JP, you're glazing. Brother, you get cooked by this guy. But anyways, I will get you out of here unless you can come in here and prove otherwise. Now, why do I say all of this? Because while we were at the conference,
Let's talk about the Bless God conference.
Somebody said that he convinced you. Absolutely not. But Nick, I'll tell you this: if you guys were to go on a moderated one-on-one debate, I don't think a good portion of people will come out very. He's a very, very good debate. I'm not saying he's right.
Mm-hmm.
Let me be very clear here. I'm a Protestant man. I'm a fair man. But he slapped around Trent Horn like a little rag doll. You know what I'm saying? He slapped the man around, brother. Slapped the man around. That was a beatdown. And listen.
I don't even think he slapped Trent Horn around.
Maybe
a little bit.
I need this guy to follow me around. If I get in an argument with my wife, just be like, yeah, well, what about this? Like, see, this guy is so girls, they all cheerlead each other. Like, oh yeah, you told him. Oh yeah, no, you are so right. Like, oh yeah, Jennifer, she has been a B, and you brought up some really good points. This guy, I want to follow me around, and after every altercation I have with anybody, he's gonna be like, yeah, man, you're cooking, bro. You bodied that guy. You literally just Donkey Kong stomped him. You know what I'm saying? Like you were cooking with curry the whole time, dude. Like that guy. Like, I want this guy to follow me around and just be like my real life, just cheerleader. Like, this was awesome. Okay, just 30 more seconds.
At the Catholics, at the conference itself, there were Catholics there. I'm not gonna say any names, but there were Catholics there, and they know Trent Horn on another level. Like, they're like Trent Horn fans on another level. And they themselves said Trent did not do good. Okay? So,
Wow.
Somebody said some people are good debaters, but it doesn't mean. Oh no, I never said that he has truth on his side, brother. I never said he has truth on his side. Let me be very clear with that. I try to debate the guy. I try to have a little back and forth with the guy myself. And let me tell you guys who else had a back and forth with the guy. Let me show you guys some pictures.
Oh, please tell me this gets good.
Okay.
Oh,
Let me show you guys some pictures. Does anybody recognize who this guy is? Hold on. Where the heck is it?
Oh, I gotta see
took some
this.
Pictures. This is well documented, this engagement.
He's actually not going to be able to show it right now.
Oh,
so it's kind of a letdown. Yeah, he shows it a little later in the video. It was another YouTuber.
Well, no, he brings it up. Look right here. He puts it up on his phone.
Does anybody know who this guy
it's just
is?
fuzzy.
Right here.
Yeah, that's Jacob Hansen with Oh, come on.
Anybody know? Focus. You're making me look stupid.
No, you got to stick it in front of your face so the camera doesn't focus on your face. Come on, bro.
Focus.
Come on, bro. No, in front of your face so the camera doesn't focus on your face.
Terrible.
Come on.
I guess you guys will never know who it is.
Dang it. All right. So anyway,
he pulls it up like 10 minutes later or so. He was another YouTuber, kind of like apologetics YouTuber that I hadn't heard of before, but was a very solid dude.
Okay,
and has a cool beard.
Wow. Oh, and look, he talks about Kwaku.
He talks about Kwaku. Basically, he says that Kwaku used to be the up-and-coming one, but Kwaku took some serious beatings from a couple people, and so now Kwaku's not at the top anymore. But he does say that Kwaku, there's his debate. Oh, it wasn't really a debate. And this is actually, this video is exactly what Jacob Hansen is talking about, where you have to get the topic and the venue right to have these conversations.
Should we listen to just 30 seconds of this?
Sure.
Back when Kwaku mopped the floor with Jeff Durbin and James White?
Not trying to accuse Kwaku of bad strategy, but the fact of the matter is that you have two dudes in like their 60s and 30s.
Oh, I thought Kwaku crushed it. I thought Kwaku crushed it with these cats.
I know, but
because it was watching a 17-year-old layman just mop the floor with 40 and 60-year-old paid pastors.
I know,
dude.
but just from a tactic standpoint.
Well, so
does one guy who doesn't know as much as other people
that's awesome. That's David and Goliath, bro.
I know, it sounds cool.
Hey, well, I got to tell you, it works because this is the video that made me call Kwaku.
Like, Cardin,
this is the video that made me call Kwaku.
But Cardin, if you went up against Inspiring Philosophy, like if Inspiring Philosophy said, "Hey, me
Mop
and one
the
of
floor
my
with him.
no," if
Mop
Inspiring Philosophy said, "Me and one of my other buddies
asymmetrical warfare
are going to invite you into our studio, and we're just going to grill you. We don't have a specific topic. We're just going to grill you about whatever we want to for 3.5 hours." And you said yes to that?
I welcome it.
I would like disown Word Radio. I cannot condone
because
this kind of reckless behavior.
No, that's not reckless because you're thinking of I think there's massive arguments that can be made. And they're oftentimes the most overlooked. You're immediately going to the tit for tat of what you're used to hearing. I think there's wild underlying issues that have never been addressed.
Yeah, but Mike Jones knows them all.
Man, you're worshiping these people way too much. You're worshiping these people way too much, bro.
Having the gospel does not make you smarter.
I'm not. No, see,
it doesn't make you a Bible scholar.
No, you instantaneously think it's about scholarship and smarts. See, that's the thing.
But you are going to make historical claims or theological claims, and that automatically gets you into the realm of scholarship.
No, but what if there's just simple questions that they don't answer?
Simple questions
because they're always glazed over because of presuppositional, just presuppositions.
Yeah, you'll do fine on those.
Yeah, okay,
but then they'll get into
you don't think that can occupy the 3 hours? Because you have to go past level 1 and 2 arguments before you get to level 3 arguments.
No, if they're the ones controlling the conversation, though.
Yeah, but who said you think that's really going to happen with me? Like what, dog?
Michael Jones is never going to invite you, but if he does, do not accept. And he wouldn't do that anyways because he's a lot more fair than Jeff Durbin and James White. As a talk, but like let me invite you into the studio.
Thanks for your vote of confidence, Luke.
I wouldn't go into I wouldn't accept anybody, even if they weren't Michael Jones, to just say, "Hey, me and a buddy are going to bring you in, and we're just going to grill you for 3 hours about all the problems with Mormonism."
Well, that's true. No, it's got to be entertaining.
No,
it's got to be entertaining, and it has to be a service to the viewer. And if it's just some weird, odd, gish-galloped grill session, then
that's
of course,
what they did with Kwaku.
Oh, see, I thought they tried, but he handled it so well, it was entertaining.
So let's see what this guy says about it, because that's what he says, actually.
Okay, let's see.
I see you. Can you say something? Let me see if I hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me, man?
Oh, we're at a different part now.
If I were a Calvinist, I'm not going to make them hear because I'm not a Calvinist.
Oh, wait, you're right. Let me go back to the spot where Kwaku was on the screen.
Yeah, I was like at 25 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, geez, man, this is a long, super long live stream. Here we go. Okay, boom. Here, let's see what he's got to say.
Right at 25.
So this is Kwaku. You know, this is Kwaku. And this is James White and Jeff Durbin right here. So this is a little bit of a 2-on-1 against this guy. I honestly believe they were unable to knock him out. You know, they were able to have a good conversation, but there were no knockouts. And it was a 2-on-1. So you're talking about the two top Calvinists, Jeff Durbin and James White, and they were unable to knock the man out. Now, I hate to say it, Sam Shamoon knocked the man out. Sam Shamoon handled the business. You know what I'm saying? Now,
oh, wait. Sam Shamoon, that's the guy that basically, like, calls you up and says, hey, actually, you know, Joseph Smith was a pedophile, right? Well, no, okay, hold on. I don't know if to say, yeah, just like Muhammad, right? No, well, hold on. There's plenty of Muhammad, there's plenty of Muslims that have sincerely held, like, oh, wow, so you believe in false prophecy? Wait, no, okay, just give me a second. Can I finish it? Wow, oh, you're scared of the truth, aren't you? Well, no, I just haven't gotten a sentence out. Oh, that's because the God is silencing your mouth, right? And now you recognize through the power of Jesus that you are in the wrong, right? Well, okay, hold on.
So even though he says that Jacob bodied Trent Horn, he bodied Apologia, Kwaku held his own against James White and Jeff Durbin, he says that Sam Shamoon wiped the floor with Kwaku. So actually, that's why I
couldn't even watch that whole video because it's just so.
I've never even started it.
The Sam Shamoon guy is just like blah blah. It's like turning on a fire hose accidentally when you want like a drinking fountain. Yeah. It's just like, geez, Louise,
shoots up your nose and.
I guarantee you that guy's been divorced multiple times. I guarantee you that guy's been divorced multiple times. He's like those cops working at like, you know, the airport that have been kicked out of like 2 different departments, and they're just trying to earn their pension and pay off their like 5th divorce. You know what I'm saying? That's what you're like. They're the ones blowing the whistle at LAX, like move along. You know, just like jeez.
Is Austin still there somewhere?
Oh yeah,
they're downloading. I'm putting them in the Discord.
Okay, so just one more minute of this guy. See what he says about Kwaku.
I'm gonna have to make a video addressing Sam Shamoon a little bit later, not tonight, obviously, because the man is going around saying that I believe Catholics have a different gospel. I never said that. I never said that Catholics have a different gospel. I never said that, right? So I'm gonna have to clarify that. And he called my mother a few names as well. So,
so it looks like looks like we're not the only ones that have noticed this about your boy Sam Shamoon. So anyway, is there more funny stuff that he says about Kwaku here?
About Kwaku? I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Just that he used to be the top dog. He held his own
against
Jeff Durbin.
And then he called my mother a couple.
And then he lost to Sam Shamoon, but he's not a big fan of Sam Shamoon because he misquoted him and called his mother names. So that's the state of Evangelical.
Okay, so we got to, you know, we got to stop here and we got to move on to Austin, man. Austin, our modern Harry Potter. Dude, are those new glasses, bro? Like octagonal shades?
No, I've had them.
Oh, those look cool, bro. Yeah. Those look way cool, man. So he's our quant. He's our, like, in James Bond. You know Q, the guy that invents all of the weapons and invents all of the cool gizmos and everything. That is Austin Falter of Falter Media, who is our, you know, one of our behind the scenes guys. What do you got for us?
World Radio bulletin board guy. That's my job.
Sure. Oh, by the way, P.S. Oh, dude, I didn't realize. Are those your favorite headphones, dog? Look.
What's up, these guys?
Yeah, those. Sony? Okay, it's so interesting you have those, bro. Just because, hold on. People ask me this sometimes.
Classic studio monitor,
dude. Yeah, I'm telling you, bro. I have not found a better replacement. And sometimes people like knowing what equipment I use. Like people ask, like Joe Rogan, like, "Oh, what microphone to use? What headphones to use?" Go. Dude, I'm telling you, bro. Those. Which ones do you have with the blue band? There's only 2.
I've worn these so much. These like the rubbers come off. It's just like I've lost the casing around these.
Dude, I'm telling you, they're the Sony WDR somethings. And the only reason why I bring this up is just to give a big shout out really fast. Just to give a big shout out to oh my gosh, no, it didn't show up on the receipt. It's been
someone send you those?
Yeah, off the Amazon wish
awesome.
list. It is Michael. I think it's Michael or Michelle. Shoot, it got cut off by Amazon. But yeah, if you guys want to support the channel, we've got an Amazon wish list, and we just got these goodies in the Amazon wish list, and these are my favorite studio monitors. I'm slowly converting all of the Sennheisers that break. As they break, I'm converting them to the MDR 7506s, which are like literally my favorite monitor. So seeing you with them, I'm like, dude, my dad introduced me to these in like the 90s, and the patent hasn't changed in like 30 years. And I'm like, it's just like the Kawasaki KZ1000P motorcycle, you know?
Well, it's like the microphones too. The Shure SM7B, Michael Jackson filmed on that bad boy, and they're still rocking it.
And the RE320, exactly. Michael Jackson used to record on the RE20, and the RE320 is basically it's.
Once you perfected sound, you know, it's just hard to beat.
Yeah, it's hard to beat. Okay, so tell us what you got. What do you got?
But guys, Luke and Jacob, they're doing some crazy, amazing interfaith work here. And so we got to reveal a little bit about they're building bridges. They're building bridges in the Discord. We got a couple.
I got this one. It's up on the screen, bro.
There we go. I don't know which one you're looking at.
The Star Wars one. You're here to build bridges, right?
That's right.
You're here to build bridges, right?
You're here to build bridges, right?
Or convert you.
Building bridges. But their master plan, if you go to the Groove Despicable Me.
Okay.
Really, they've been plotting this for a while. So step 1, build interfaith relationships.
Okay.
Be kind, find common ground.
Okay.
Gently testify of the great apostasy.
Oh,
and gently testify of the great apostasy. That's where we usually get caught. But
oh, dude, that is so funny. Is that like supposedly our MO that I just didn't know about, bro?
Sneaking into the Christian conferences?
We really shouldn't be saying this on the air.
Oh, sorry.
No, not sneaking into the conferences. They bought tickets for like $300. This was not a cheap conference. It wasn't like a $300 ticket. No,
it was.
Gently testifying of the great apostasy. Is that our MO? Is that what we should be doing?
Oh, yeah,
I was unaware. But
actually, when it comes to the $300 ticket price, we're not the ones doing this. Jacob, I think he would agree with this. Me, Cardin, we're just the people who happen to be the faces, but what we're doing is all of you guys together. Because I'm not going out to conferences that cost $300 in my current state with 2 kids, another one on the way, without ad revenue, channel membership revenue, all that kind of stuff to do it. And then the views are what spreads these ideas around.
Yes.
To educate yourselves, to get the video out there to other people where they get educated, that we saw all the time at this conference. So it's not that I'm a big deal, and I'm not a big deal compared to Cardin and Jacob. So we already know that that's not the case. But even Jacob's not that big of a deal.
But give yourself some credit, Luke. You're putting in work, man. You're going to these events. A lot of people, we sit here, we watch you guys on Word Radio, and it's amazing. You're fun to listen to. But then, like, you're putting in work. You're traveling, you and your wife, traveling away from the family, go visit them, and I mean, there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into the stuff that you're doing. And,
Joy, what's it called? A repeat. Oh gosh, I know how to say this in Spanish. When you learn a foreign language, it totally screws with your English. You know what I'm talking about? Not a repeat offender, not a repeat appearer, a repeat host. There we are on the Women of Ward Radio. A beloved addition to that part of the Ward Radio wigwam, and pumping out dem babies. Holy smoke, you're like practically Father Abraham by now, bro. So awesome, good on her and good on you, Austin. What other memes do we got, bro?
Yeah, this is a footage of Jacob actually being caught on camera.
Okay.
When he was about to explain, got the office meme there.
Okay.
But
Wait, the
that's-
Office meme. Ah, here we go. I got this one right here.
Give it
sorry.
5 seconds.
Okay, what was he about to explain? Hold on, I'm going to
He
look
was
at it
wearing
right
a wig. He's got a little bit more hair in this photo, but when pastor says, "Let's just focus on Jesus," and you know that you're about to explain that he appeared in the ancient Americas.
now. Okay, hold on. Oh no, I just got to
You didn't
fix
have that?
my
Sorry.
Hold on, I just got to fix my No, something just happened with my browser. So hold on, browser window. Okay, no, it's all right here. It's all right here. Ah, boom. So yeah, something was up. So boom. Now hold on. Now graphics. Browser window, not Discord. Google Chrome. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm just going to have to go right screen here. This is actually freaking, okay, so here we go. Here's 2 of them. Boom.
Live. It's live,
Okay, so
people.
here's Jacob Hansen in the red dress, thoughtful Christians, Trent Horn. Oh, no, bro. You're a savage. You're an absolute savage, man. And
No,
then
that guy we were watching was a savage. He's narrating this situation.
Oh, dude. Okay, and then here's the one of Jacob Hansen. Got it now.
There you go.
When the
last
pastor
one.
says, "Let's just focus on Jesus," and you know you're about to explain he appeared in ancient America. Oh, that is too funny, bro. That is too funny.
We had some
So
people
thank you, Luke and Jacob, for infiltrating and for spreading the good word. Even when people are a little skeptical, maybe to have you there.
There was a couple of people. There was actually an instance where Jacob Hansen was talking to 4 brothers that all used to be Jehovah's Witnesses.
Really?
And then within the past couple of years had converted over and were at the conference. And they were asking him some questions, but they're in a more open-minded space than other people who have become entrenched in their ideas. And they asked Jacob, I wasn't here for this because I was talking to the other lady who said I knew my stuff. And another guy that was with her that was really stuck on like the feelings of the Holy Ghost that confirm the truth to you.
Yeah.
Jacob was talking to these guys and they told him like, well, why do you believe this is true? And apparently he gave him like a wonderful like plan of salvation, fruits, building Zion type of argument. And he said they were just kind of like mesmerized. And after we went home to the hotel that night, Jacob said, those guys are getting baptized, man. I don't know when, but I think they will in the future.
Whoa,
They're on the right path.
interesting. Okay.
Wow.
So what? Asking the wrong questions, the wrong think. What?
Wait. What do you mean?
Well, what? Yeah. What? So what would you summarize the reasons why he thinks that they're on their way?
Just that they were very receptive to the way that he was explaining how you know that something's true from like Jesus Christ, fruits of the Spirit arguments.
Okay, awesome. We got 60 more seconds until we read some super chats. If you guys have any comments or any questions for Luke, who made it to the conference, for Austin, or for me, as long as they're appropriate and they're germane to the conversation, we'd love to read those. We're in overtime right now already, so we're going to have to jam pretty soon. Before we go, though, Austin, come on, you're a content creator. What do you think you would like to see us do if we were to collaborate with any of these people from the Bless God Summit?
I don't know, 3 live streams in a row. You guys are on a roll. I'm loving the live streams. Gotta like the streams so more people
That's
can
true.
see these. I when I came down, we had a discussion with Pentecostal, and I just thought it was fun to have them in studio and to just, clown around and have some fun, talk about some differences. And it was a great time. So I'd love to see more of that conversation happening. And, after the Trent Horn debate as well, just going back to that, Jacob, I helped Jacob out with his channel a little bit, and we've had a ton of Catholics who now follow, and they're like the regular commenters in the channel.
Really?
It's the craziest thing. Yeah. They're like some of his top fans. They're always commenting on like every post, the community post, the videos. And it's really interesting to see. So I love that we're that people are talking with us and not just about us, and that you guys are a big part of kind of making that happen.
What do you notice that they like most?
That we're still trying to figure that out. I was talking to Jake about this week. It's like who's the audience beyond just members? Like there's a lot of people who follow, and I think it's people who are curious but based is kind of what we've landed on. It's like,
okay,
it's not just anyone who's curious, but it's people who they've got their they've got family, they got religion, they've got, they're kind of in the same boat as we are, and yet they're curious about maybe the differences in doctrine, about the way that we testify and what we might focus on. And yeah, I mean, Mormonism's weird to a lot of people, and I don't know if you saw the video of Jacob talking to Alex O'Connor, the big atheist guy, but that was kind of the main point that I took away. He's like, this is weird. There's something going on here, and I think people are curious about that.
Yeah, because it's kind of interesting. I remember when John DeLynn started blowing up, who's the number one anti-Mormon.
Sure.
And he started seeing comments where people said, "Never been a Mormon. Watch all your stuff." And I remember him pleading and saying, "Oh, wait, why do you guys like our stuff? Like, why would this interest you? Like, I can't believe it." And I was like, even he hasn't figured it out yet, right? And then that's when he discovered cult porn.
Yeah.
That's because he's like, oh,
right.
yeah, if you like, just like, people watch Going Clear, Scientology in the Aftermath or whatever. If you can Mormonize that on a YouTube channel and collect the CPM, you literally have a golden goose. And then that's when you started, like right after that, like within 6 weeks, he figured that out. Then that's when all of a sudden his subs started exploding. And now over 60%, 70% of his audience aren't even members of the church, know nothing. They're there just to watch the weird stories that aren't even based in reality. And it's sad and it's tragic, right? That we're the recipients of that home wrecking for profit, we call it, right? But it is always interesting when you get to see your viewers and realize how much different than you they are, and for what reasons they're intrigued by your content. Like that, right. That's a very interesting phenomenon as a YouTuber, So anyway, we got a couple of super chats here. If you want to be able to help us out answering some of these questions, that would be super helpful. It says, love me some Ward Radio. Woot woot. Says R. Oh my gosh, this is the shortest YouTube username I've ever seen in my life.
You can't get shorter. So that
literally just says lowercase r. I think that's one of the letters in the alphabet.
Score.
Yeah, that requires the least amount of pixels. Is just R.
Oh,
then Paulie Nike's upgraded his membership to straight up indulgences.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh.
How many are you at now?
5. I think maybe
5?
that's 6. We've got 5 people. It's straight up indulgences. I literally, Austin, do you want to do our first straight up indulgences only members live stream?
Yeah.
There will be like 5 people in it.
I was there when the first one happened.
That's right.
And it was like, we couldn't believe it. And now there's 5.
Dude, this is awesome. That is going to be so fun. And then Rex Good says, lots of pro debate people. What's the downside of debating? Oh.
Ooh, this is okay. So Gavin Ortland he's very careful about how conversations happen, and he's really big into making sure that they're productive. And he actually had he was honestly curious with Jacob Hansen and myself, and even Wise Disciple was part of this conversation for a little bit. He left after a while, actually, asking us this very question about what the purpose of debate is, if we think it's more rhetoric that wins or the content that wins, if debates have changed our perspective on things. It was a really fascinating conversation with Gavin Ortland. And now I'm forgetting, the question is, pro debate people, what's the downside of debating? I think the downside is if it turns into like a SmackDown session. And this is, I think, the weakness that the new atheists had. Was 9/11 happened, people were had the dangers of Islam, quote unquote, on their brains. The new atheists swept in and were proposing that all religion is bad, all religion is destructive. And they went about it in a very audacious, kind of braggadocious, I'm smarter than you type of way. And Jacob Hansen said that this is one of kind of the turning points in his faith journey, was watching William Lane Craig versus, was it Christopher Hitchens? I think it was, but it might have been another guy. But basically it was Craig, well-spoken but mostly academic with strong philosophical arguments, going against Christopher Hitchens, who mostly was relying on great timing, comedic timing, quick wit, and his British accent to get him through the debate. And And that contrast made him realize, oh, the Christians actually have something to say, whereas these new atheists are, most of their punch comes from the condescending way that they say it.
My only beef with debates too is that to me,
you think they're boring.
Well, the thing is, I don't think the audience learns as much. I know Jacob Hansen adores the formal debate format, but to me, conversation.
I'm also a formal debate simp.
I know you are, and that's also just why I say, like, I'm not worried about debating to these guys, because what I think oftentimes when people say like a debate, I think what they're actually craving is a substantive conversation amongst two good faith actors. And for a lot of people, the only way to actually get anything substantive and remotely similar to good faith is to actually formalize the interaction. But I don't think you actually get the most out of it if it is hyper formalized, like I believe a debate format is. I think a solid conversation between Mike Jones and I, or Ruslan and I, or any of these people, Preston Perry even, or I, would be far more entertaining for the audience, far more substantive for everybody involved, far more engaging and instructional and educational for the viewership. So when I say I don't like debates, it's not because I like absolutely dislike them. It's because I just don't think they're as good, as effective, as helpful as just a solid conversation. Like in V for Vendetta, where he says, let's sit down and have a little chat. You know, I don't think debates are as good as a solid V for Vendetta chat, although that was actually more of a monologue. But anyway, yeah, that's where I stand. So, Austin, any last thoughts before we go, my man? Any last thoughts, Broseph? Oh.
No. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, did we lose you there? Oh, okay, cool. Rock on. So,
I think debates have grown on me only because I'm not a Luke or a Jacob Hansen. I don't relate to the I'd rather just talk to people. I have no idea on a lot of the arguments, way over my head, right? But it's grown on me seeing the amount of missionary work that happens in these debates, which seems odd because it's like, oh, people arguing. But there's a lot of people that are seriously looking for answers, looking to find a worldview that they identify with, a denomination that they identify with. And sometimes the debate format of laying it out there and you hear both arguments, it's just been really helpful. It's been cool to see. So
okay, and what do you notice about, I mean, you talk about the missionary efforts, what do you notice most about these people that are starting to tune in to, I know you help Jacob out with a lot of his content, you help me out with a lot of my content, you help out, I'm sure, myriad others. Is there a common theme you notice as, a pretty media savvy guy who's now starting to help out many of those that are kind of on the tip of the Mormon spear here? Is there a through line that you've observed?
The through line is those who make people mad get the most positive feedback, and people messaging them like, hey, I'm getting baptized this week, and because those who make people mad and speak their mind and are bold, and I see this with the secular work that I do as well. Those who are controversial and just like stand for what they stand for, people hear them, they're louder online, people get mad in the comments, but they also get way more followers, way more people who just flock to them because they stand for something. I had one of my clients is a Catholic and a doctor, and she said she started all her sales calls with a prayer, and her business exploded. And yes, I believe there are probably spiritual forces at work there, right? But also,
or that's performative religiosity, and it seems super cringe to me. If I got a sales call and somebody wanted to pray, I would hang up.
Wait,
no, yes, I think there's something there. But also, people are dying for a doctor who isn't just like the norm, but that they want to find an alternative medicine that is Christian, that's based in truth. And for her, it's a very religious audience. She starts those calls.
Okay, that makes a little more sense.
Coaching program that she does, and people love that because they're hungry for it, right? And I think that's why Jacob's grown. That's why Stick of Joseph grown. That's why Word Radio has grown. Greg Madsen is because you guys just speak truth and you're not really afraid of the consequences a little bit.
That's funny. Hey, well, after yesterday's live stream, the fact that YouTube still has us on, I think, is a success and shows that the culture is changing. Rex Good says, "I'm what."
Was the chat great? I wasn't following the chat, but I loved the live stream.
Oh, there was a lot of antis in the chat. Well, we've got
Was
a
it?
lot of people. Yeah, we've got about double the normal audience that we have right now as well. There's thousands watching. So, yeah, well, because we restream on multiple platforms. So, anyway, yeah, dude, this has been absolutely awesome. What would you recommend we make in the future, Mr. Professional Quant, Mr. Q for James Bond? Like, if you had to recommend and produce our future content to make more of these inroads, what would you say we should do? Both me and Jacob and
I think
everybody.
once a week we're gonna start doing indulgence only live streams. So pay to play.
Jeez.
There's my answer.
The sad thing is, like, the thing we're mocking could possibly become what it actually is. You know what I'm saying? Like preferential treatment and access to the podcaster.
The true and the proud. It's the true and the proud.
You know, that would be totally funny. So anyway, all right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us, Austin. It's been an absolute blast. You're a scholar and a gentleman. If you guys need help with media in your organization, you gotta hook up with Austin Falter. He's super
Only if
cool.
you're based.
Only if you're based, yeah. But he's got a great program there, man, helping out with shorts and all kinds of different content. He bailed out Jacob Hansen from his own vice of making his freaking thumbnails in PowerPoint. Oh, dear heavens.
Gag.
Yeah, thank you so much for helping him out. And that cool little intro of his, you did that as well, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Jake,
yeah.
Good.
Okay, cool, awesome. All right. So you guys can check him out at faltermedia.io, I believe it is. What's your website, bro?
Falter.media.
Oh, falter.media. That was it. Okay, cool. And Luke Hansen, editor-in-chief of Ward Radio News. If you guys want to hear more of what he's got going on, make sure you check out wardradio.com and sign up for our newsletter so you can get all of our news stories directly into your inbox as soon as we release them. While you're there, you can also sign up for the Discord. Our Discord is a ton of fun, and shout out to the moderators, shout out to Ethan, Bloodtrack, Samuel Skeen, Charlene, who have been helping us out, as well as, who else am I missing? Jonah Barnes, and oh, come on, I can't be forgetting one. No, I actually think I got everybody. So thanks for all of you guys and Alicia Brown, who is moderator of the Ward Radio Discord. It's a ton of fun. One more plug for the War in Heaven veteran hats. Those are all available in the Ward Radio merch store, as well as shirts. If you're a person of means, please consider a generous contribution through Zelle or through Venmo at Ward Radio on both platforms, and that helps keeps the lights on, helps keep the equipment purchased, and if that's not your cup of tea, consider helping us out on the Amazon wish list. We're going to have links to a public wish list that can be used to help us buy all kinds of goodies that are used in the production of all of this content that we bring you guys. So other than that, shout out to everybody who super chat us today. Rex Good, Pauline Nikes, R, thank you so much for your contributions. In addition, big shout out to the Kolob Society, Hayden Carroll. You got to check out his content on Thoughtful Faith as well. Mag Larson, Fidget the Crazy, Stephen Diamond. Yeah.
We do need to welcome Brother Joshua Hasbrock Sr., who was baptized LDS 2 weeks ago after being an evangelical for 45 years.
What?
So all those who would like to welcome Brother... Oh, and his name Hasbrock Sr. into the actual Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Wow.
You can do so by putting a big fat W
in the chat. Wow. Okay. Well, for Hasbrock Sr., big, massive W in the chat for all of our members. big, massive W in the chat. If you want to contribute, please make sure you join this channel, like the stream, share it with your friends, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, please just create the account on YouTube. That way you'll get a notification every time we're doing something. It helps the channel out a ton, but you can also join the channel to get early access to many of our videos. Lots of our videos come out up to 10 to 12 hours early for members of the channel as well. You know, not all of them are straight up indulgences. Many of them are more affordable options as well. But press that join button, and whatever you can afford and throw our way, we are grateful to receive. Other than that, it's been real, and it's been fun, and it's been real fun for this and more. Please make sure you check us out at wardradio.com.
I built a rocket in my basement. I'm gonna fly it to the moon. This supersonic is amazing. You're gonna feel my sonic boom. I'm flying higher and I'm never coming down. Look at me now.